Yeah. So the topic today is mental toughness, uh, thriving against all odds. And this is a topic I've loved for many years. Way back, I think over 10 years ago, I kept thinking of this thing called mental toughness. I'd never come across any such subject anywhere. But I kept imagining these are the times I was thinking about doing the first book, Live Your Dream, in 7 days. And I was thinking about what is it that makes people to thrive. And that's the time that this subject came to my mind, mental toughness. I believed that there should be some degree of mental toughness in anyone who is going to succeed in a venture. Why? Because there are lots of roadblocks. There are lots of trials and temptations, and many other things that we always go through. But without mental toughness, we end up quitting. We end up not living our dreams. And so that's what we are going to discuss today. Along the way, I started meeting books like emotional intelligence and things like that. But the foundation of this thinking came to me much, much earlier. And I'd like to start by saying that a lot of what I share is the life I've been able to experience, number one. Number two is what I've learned through observation, just analyzing what is happening in the society, happening for people around me, happening for in different situations. And so these are things that I've learned them, I've practiced them, and I know for sure that they work. I came to, when I was finishing university, I joined the first workplace. And for some reason, I came across a quote by Buddha. I had signed up for some quotes. I started learning about these things, quotes, and looking for wisdom in different places long time ago. So one of the quotes that came to me and struck me was, all that we are is as a result of whatever we ever thought. Whatever we think, we become. That was a quote by Buddha. And I think that's the first time I was starting to learn about the Buddha and his philosophies and quotes and everything, and whatever they believe in. But then it wasn't long before I read another quote that said, whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you're right. And that was a quote by another gentleman called W. Clement Stone. And that ignited my curiosity, and I started trying to trace back these the origin of these philosophies and how true they could be. And in that particular state, I remembered that earlier on, I'd been contemplating about the philosophy of what makes a human being. And I learned that a human being has three components. There is the body, which is the manifestation, which is the experience. Apparently, this is the way I get it. The body that we have is the experience. It is the result. Yes, it is not the cause. But then we have other components, and that is the mind and the spirit. And the mind appears to be the proprietor of this enterprise. And joining that to the quotes I've just mentioned and many others, which I even ended up going to write about, I realized that thriving against all odds, or anything you're going to succeed in, it can be distilled to one thing: thought. can be distilled to what your mind allows to reside in there. And when we say you, for example, for many years, I kept imagining when somebody says you, or when I say I, am I referring to my body? But that cannot be true, because even that is mine. Then who am I? Yes? Is that my mind? No, even that is my mind. So it's a philosophy that took me, it's taken me quite some time. But so far, I've come to believe that we are more than just the body that we see. We are more than just the physique. Yes, we are more than the thoughts and everything, but we are sum total of all these. And the weakest of them all is the experience, the body. And the life that I have today, no matter what it is, I can always trace it back to whatever I ever thought, because whatever I think, I become. I never found the best time to experiment this than when COVID struck. That was a universal thing, and so there was a universal lab to experiment. You observe this and that and everything. And this, added to my experience, I came to realize that thriving against all odds will always depend on what is in your mind. It doesn't depend on your academics. It doesn't depend on your relative. It doesn't depend on the economy. It doesn't depend on what is happening around you. Apparently, it depends on what is happening inside you. And that's why somebody said that if there is no enemy within, then the enemy without can do us no harm. Long time ago, well, I also loved Methalis. And one of those that I kept wondering about was Kikulacho Kinguoni Mwako, which is Swahili. That means whatever is eating you is right within your clothes. Yeah. And I asked my mom, that was my, when I was a child, I think I was below 10. I asked her, what does this mean? And she would tell me that, you see, whatever will be troubling you or stumbling on your way could be just somebody who is very close to you. Maybe there is another that, I don't know. But I later came to believe that the only person who is wearing your clothes, the only person who is in your clothes, is you. And so I can be my stumbling block. I can be the one that is stopping my growth if I do not understand how these things work. And that is why it's written in the Bible that my people perish due to lack of knowledge. And so I came up with a quote, by the way, that said that ignorance is the greatest liability of humankind, the greatest liability. For that reason, you will fight everybody else. You will run away from the real problem, thinking that the problem is out there. And that's why, sorry, seems like I've not connected to power.
I think I can do a small poem.
Sure.
I had given it a title of Supremacy of Hope Against All Odds. A hope that is courageous, so steadfast, in the middle of calamity, pain cast. A hope strong like an enthusiast, against all odds, hold on the supremacy of hope. In a state of unprepared darkness, unleashing fear of all that is a mess, life is just so meaningless. Against all odds, hold on to the supremacy of hope. The sun sets and the evening approaches, nothing to sink through the mouth stitches, setbacks, all is your tongue preaches. Against all odds, hold on to the supremacy of hope. Reach its prime against all odds, slow speeds compared to the toads, walk steadily hiking your nodes. Against all odds, hold on to the supremacy of hope. It is lonely and desolate. Energy, synergy could deflate. Creator's wings you should insulate. Against all odds, hold on to the supremacy of hope. Shake the core of your existence. Learn from your prior experience. You were born for importance. Against all odds, hold on to the supremacy of hope. All that was created is possible. All that was made is noble. Your strength is surely so capable. Against all odds, hold on to the supremacy of hope. Wake up to the surprise of strive. Work until you thrive. We don't mean to just survive. Just know that against all odds, hold on to the supremacy of hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lucita. Let me just unmute everyone so that you can just interact. Otieno Paul Peter, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, you're back. Sawa sawa.
My computer was not connected for some reason. I don't know why. I thought it was to power,
It's
that
okay.
is. Yeah, so I was saying that our experiences, our body is literally part of our experiences. But all these things emanate from the thoughts that we've allowed to be in our minds. Thank you, Dr. Lucita. We actually forgot, oh, the moderator forgot that you were to do a poem. Fantastic. I love it. I hope I'll listen to it. So a few things that we need to remember is we are going to thrive or not thrive depending on how we think, depending on what thoughts we put in our minds. And I've seen this right from how I grew up. And I've seen that the same situation, you realize that somebody will have a reason not to thrive, a reason not to succeed, a reason to say that because of this, I was not able to do this. Because of this, I was not able to do this. But in that same situation, somebody else is able to grow and become a success. And so I will move into a few ideas or a few tips that one can employ. I came up with them along the way, and I've always shared them, and it's part of what I've put in the first book, Live Your Dream in 7 Ds. We've come to an agreement that one, thriving is a subject of thought. It's a subject of what is in our minds. And it has nothing to do with the environment. It has nothing to do with relatives. It has nothing to do with COVID or academics and everything else. And that's, I was saying that part of how I came to learn this was largely during the COVID time. In fact, if you remember, and even during the last general election in Kenya, if you remember how some people got ill, yes, after watching TV and watching statistics enough, you end up with there seems to be a trouble with computer, I think so, somewhere. You end up with a problem like you end up sick because of the things you've been able to watch and listen to and things like that. And so one thing that I came up with along the way was an acronym of the word give. That is G, I, let me see if I can share that on this computer. No. Yeah. There is G, I, and then V, and then E. G, I, V, and then E. So the first is G, and G stands for goal. goal. And I also put there in the goal, gratitude. Gratitude can also be G, but the main thing there is goal. What goals do you have? If you live a goalless life, you are going to have some trouble. If you live a goalless life, you are going to have some trouble. You do not know what you are looking for. You are going to have some trouble because you do not know what you're looking for. Long time ago, I listened to an audio by somebody called Al Nightingale. And Al was saying, was talking about the strangest secret in life. The strangest secret in life. So he was saying that he asked a great teacher once asked a doctor, one of the top doctors, I think, and in psychology and everything. And he was asking, doctor, what's wrong with men? And then the great doctor said that men simply don't think. And he ended up to explain that we always live a goalless life. Traveling, moving from, when we are traveling from one destination to another, we are clear about where we are going. We are clear about what we want. We are clear about which vehicle we are supposed to use, which means of transport we are going to use. But when we are living our lives, we end up not having goals. We just let life happen. And that is usually a big problem. It's one of the biggest problems that we end up having. So whenever we are living, whenever we are, it doesn't matter the situation where we are, goals, I came to learn, are one of the ways, are the most powerful ways we are going to program our thoughts, to program our minds. If we know that this is where we are headed to, if we know that this is what we are looking for in life, then our minds will have to be compelled to do exactly that, to work in our favor. And this is where we start talking about everything conspires to ensure that you are getting exactly that which you are looking for. You see? And so it's imperative that each and every one of us must be able to set goals. What is it that you are going to look for this year? Yes, and don't look around and see what is realistic or what is, just check with your heart and see what is it that my heart desires to achieve this year. And let's focus on that. Let's be able to concentrate on that and set our minds on that. Will be able to help us in a big way. Number two is imagination. And I love to say that imagination is free. Imagination, you do not pay anybody to imagine anything. I saw Sandra here, and Sandra was talking to us about vision in the first session for this year. Imagination is free. And if you can allow yourself, if you can allow your mind to imagine things, then you are going to be able to actually get them into your heart. You are going to feel them. I is imagination. And so we need to be people who can visualize things. We imagine things and we end up achieving them. When we don't imagine things, when we put the wrong thoughts in our minds, the wrong imagination, we put the wrong pictures, then we are going to end up with exactly those particular pictures. You see, that's the way life works. If we are going to imagine the wrong things, if we are going to allow our minds to just think about the wrong things, then that is exactly what will happen for us in our life. We must allow ourselves to imagine the right things, and we choose deliberately to imagine them. And then V is visualization. Visualization, what is it that we visualize? When thoughts get into our minds, those thoughts come in terms of pictures. the thoughts come in terms of pictures. Yes. So we've got to allow we've got to choose the pictures we want to achieve, the pictures of the stuff that we put in our minds. For example, if this year I want to be able to attain another certification, if this year, or even when you are sick, whatever it is, anything that is happening in your life, we've got to be people who are going to choose the type of thoughts, the type of things that we are going to imagine, and we put those pictures. And I think that is where Sandra was talking that is what Sandra was talking about last time. That that is where the vision board comes in. So if we do not put in the right pictures, if we do not allow ourselves to see the right pictures, then we are not going to be able to achieve that which we want. And then the other thing, which is the last, is emotionalizing. We must learn to emotionalize our thoughts. We must learn to put our thoughts into emotion, you see. And that is now the trick. That is now where the trouble is, because many people do not understand that it is the emotion that that creates the movement. It is the emotion. Yeah. So if we do not, if I set a goal and this goal is not emotionalized, then there is a way it's going to affect me. There is a way I'm going to have an effect about the same. And so we've got to start thinking of, if I'm setting a goal, whether it's about getting well in physically healthy, optimal health, whether it's about getting a job, whether it's about getting another degree, whether it's about earning money, what emotions do I have? What emotions do I put in? If I put emotions of fear, then definitely I'm going to have some problem with achieving them, because I will be having more fear. The emotions that will be in my heart are related to fear. And so we've got to start thinking about what kind of emotion am I allowing in my mind, in my heart. And that will be able to direct the outcome. That will be able to determine whether I'm going to thrive or not. You see? So in a nutshell, because I'd like us to be discussing this and asking questions, let's remember the word give. There are only four letters there. One is goal. If I do not have a goal, I am likely to achieve nothing because I aim at nothing. Number two is imagination or visualization. And I've got to imagine that which I want. If I don't imagine that which I want, I allow myself to imagine what I do not want. That is what I'm going to get. Now, there is a way imagination is related to visualization and emotion, but these are words that we must think about. When I imagine things, it gets into my mind, and I can use pictures as visuals to help me be able to visualize that which I want. And by the end of the day, these are the things that get into my heart and get emotionalized. So if I'm going to look for something in 2023, like people are talking about, it's going to be a hard year, whatever, don't dwell on that. Just choose not to participate in that particular lamentation. Always mark what you say. That is, your words become your wound. Sandra told us, your words become your world. They form your world. Choose to speak positive. Just before this, we were discussing with Christine and a few others, and I was saying that if we do not speak the right things, those things that we speak are going to manifest in our lives, because when we speak them, they get into our minds and we start visualizing them. So we must choose our words properly. And the other thing is, when we are in trouble, we must learn to stay calm. If we are not going to stay calm, then something is going to happen to us. You cannot solve a problem if you are in fear. we must learn to stay calm. There is going to be trouble. There are always troubles. There are things we can't control, but we must stay calm and we must stay composed and having unceasing hope, because that will not, it's written that hope does not disappoint us. So we've got to be people who think in terms of hope. We've got to be people who think in terms of calmness and serenity. We've got to be people who think about what we want as opposed to what we do not want. We've got to be people who live with goals. I do my goals every week, that this week, what do I want to achieve? This week, what do I want to achieve? And many times I end up achieving them, you see, and I try to put them into my mind and visualize them. That is the way it is. And then we've got to be people who are conscious about the thoughts that reside in our minds and the feelings in our hearts. If I allow negativity to get into my heart, and there are people among us who are always fighting, if you are not at peace with yourself, you are not going to achieve much. You must learn to get that serenity, to get that peace in your heart, and be at peace with yourself. Yes, if you are not at peace with yourself, you can't achieve much. Even if you are a soldier, even if you are a commander in the army, if you learn about the great soldiers, including George Washington of the US, he was always a calm person and peaceful, and he ended up winning many, many more battles. You learn about Alexander the Great and all these other people. We must be people who stay calm amid storm. And even in that calmness, we only focus on that which we want. And this is something I've experimented many years. Just a few years ago, some of you know that we were in, our building was marked maliciously by some individuals in a government agency about that it was sitting on some riparian land, which is a lie. And this was something that shocked many people, many owners, and I am their leader. And I started thinking about, how do I solve this? I learned the value of calmness. Ideas just pop in and solutions just come in. And many times when I was growing up, I was always faced with different troubles. Trouble about school fees, trouble about food, trouble about everything else. And occasionally I would just sit down, chewing my sugarcane in the farms and just imagining the right things. Just imagine. I did not know this philosophy. I did not know all that I'm talking to you about, but I found myself doing it. I imagined myself thriving in life. I imagined myself finishing school. I imagined myself in Nairobi, by the way. Yes, that at one point I could, what if? That is the word, and I advise that you use it. What if? It might be difficult to imagine, to tell yourself that you will be there, but just allow yourself to ask yourself, what if I finish school? What if I manage to get this job? And it will give you that feeling of being there. And let me tell you, sure enough, over time, it will come to pass. So we must use our words well, we must use our thoughts well, our imagination well, and we must be sure what we are looking for, and that's where goals come in. Any questions so far?
Hello. Hi, Dr. Ada.
Hi, how are you doing?
We're fine.
Yes, I think this is a really brilliant discussion. And I believe that although OPP started by saying that he hadn't seen any organization which deals with this, there's something called the Positive Psychology Association of Kenya. And it was launched in 2020. And I believe this is the future of mental health. Because all these things that we are getting from the Western world that are being sanctioned by the American Psychological Association have nothing to do with health and thriving. And one of the things that in the Positive Psychology Association is post-traumatic growth. All of us have the capacity of growing and being a great source of inspiration and light to other people who might go through adversity, but by listening to your testimony and how you came out of it, then this post-traumatic growth, while the trauma and the crisis, while they are happening, obviously they look like a disaster. But God knows how to twist evil into good and make you become the source of inspiration and the source of healing as a wounded healer. Because every time I listen to OPP's testimony, I think about my life and the opportunities that I've had and the opportunities that he didn't have, and yet he came to be what he is today. And everybody who listens to his story is greatly inspired. So my point is that whatever we're going through, whatever crisis, God will twist it evil into good. As Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for the good, for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So what I wanted to say is that at 5:30 on Wednesday, we're going to have another meeting. We meet every single month, a Zoom meeting that is completely free. And I'll share the link to the group to see the way forward, the positive psychology, and how we can continue with it, because I have unsubscribed from the American Psychological Association with all its nonsense, transgender ideology right now, LGBTQ ideology. These things do not bring health. These things do not bring life. So 5:30 on Wednesday, please keep it free for a couple of hours. And we will see how positive psychology can integrate itself into our culture. Because in Kenya, we have such a beautiful culture of solidarity. We have each tribe has its own culture, and the positive psychology movement is integrating all that. You know, we get resilience from our communities. How many of us have lost people during COVID? And how our communities came through for us. The small Christian community, they don't have this in the Western world. They're trying to sell to us individualization, selfishness. It's all about me. No, it's not all about me. And so let's see how we can identify the good things in our culture. How many of you have started WhatsApp groups and been helped to bury a loved one? That's very unique to Kenya. Maybe there's another country that has that. But I'm just saying, let's see the way forward and how we can have post-traumatic growth. And the solution to all these things, these Western ideologies that they're trying to pour into Africa, is within the family, is within the community, the solidarity that we have for with one another. And this is the way forward. So karibuni sana to the Positive Psychology Association of Kenya on Wednesday at 5:30. Zoom meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there is a comment there in the, thank you, Dr. Eda. There is a comment there, which is also a question. I think I need to also mention that this is, and you don't have, nobody has to agree with me. You can only try it. There are people who may pray, then they complain why God is not answering their prayers. I personally believe that God finished creation and set up laws. And those laws, if you do not obey them, you just suffer the consequences. It doesn't matter how much you pray and then you hang yourself, you just die. You pray and get into fire, you just burn. And so sometimes we misunderstand God. We will say, why does God allow things like this to happen? Why is it that I'm praying for a job and I'm not getting, and all these other things? It will always boil down to what is in your heart. And this is how people make miracles, by the way. And this is where faith comes in, because people will talk of faith, but nobody teaches you how to have that faith. It comes down to one single thing: what is in your heart. If you can visualize that result which you want and put it in your heart, you are going to see it with your eyes. It's going to happen. Now, faced with a choice between two good options and two bad options, it can be difficult to decide. At least you know it's a bad option, so you don't need to think much about that. But what I know is, in decision making, and this is something we discuss in a topic called decision making. In decision making, there are times you do not make popular decisions. You do not, it doesn't have to make rational sense or logic. But if your heart tells you that this is the direction to go, you better go there. And being spiritual, I believe that is the way God speaks to us. It doesn't matter whatever you believe. If you believe in higher powers, whatever name you will call that, but that is the way the whole creation speaks to you. Because if we are not in harmony with the universe, we are not in harmony with the whole creation, then things work against us. That is when the wind will work against you, thorns, whatever, everything will work against you. But a big part of our prayer should be that we are in harmony with everything. We are in harmony with the universe so that we are safe. The whole planetary body, the planets are moving in some way. People think that they are moving in like a flat sheet of paper, that everything is just moving in something like flat, but it's not like that. They are moving in different direction and in different planes, and they don't collide because they are in harmony. You see, so we must learn to tune ourselves to be in harmony. And the moment we are in that harmony, we will feel at peace. And when we are at peace and we can visualize things and we can emotionalize them, they are going to happen. And I've seen this happen. The first time I experimented this, I also did not know anything about it. I visited somebody in the hospital. I was young. I was a choir member in our small church back at home. And I really felt it. And I felt like this person does not deserve to be here. She should be out. And she was bedridden, she was hospitalized, feeling very bad. But I was amazed that short prayer that she should be out and she will be out. About 3 days later, she was out. And by the way, I've experimented this even with my children when they are sick, when they are young. Yes, I try to emotionalize. And I've learned that if you are going to pray and it's not emotionalized, you know, prayer means you are confessing what you want. And this is why I'm jittery also when people pray for me not to get bad things, because they are emotionalizing the bad things, and what you utter is what is visualized in your mind. When you are looking for a job, you must visualize that job. In Nairobi, I did not have people I wanted to rely on to give me a job when I was finishing the university. But in my mind, I had put that I will get something to do, and shortly later, I will get into business. That is what was playing in my mind. And whenever I'm teaching people about, I meet people who are looking for jobs, and I say, what job do you want? And they say, any job. I know they are not going to get it because they are not clear. When they are speaking to God, when they're speaking to the universe, they are not clear about what they are looking for. So we must start by that. And that's why that became chapter 1 in my book, Live Your Dream. Just getting clear, you see, of what you want and talking about it and speaking it and things like that. You will always thrive against all odds. That's the way it works. Thank you. Yes, any other comment or question as we drive towards the close? Anthony.
Thank you very much, Paul Peter, for that wonderful sharing. And it's really also part of what I also, one of those things that I've learned in life. And when I was trying to reflect a bit before today's session, and I was wondering, I know this is a bit controversial due to the circumstances surrounding the whole thing, but the recently released KCSE results, we know what is happening. We are hearing there is a cheating here, there. Some of those grades are not what, and we know, and when we hear of cartels, and now I'm just trying to imagine maybe somebody is celebrating somewhere an A, which they did not work for. So what kind of children are we bringing up? Are they going to be children who have that toughness of mind? And like I remember also the way you tell your story, PPO, the way you sold fish at some point. You went through hard things, hard moments, because you had to fight your way through. Nobody was there to give you like that push, what we may call cartel, to give you that A to give you that. You have to work for it, whether it is a C or a B. So and my thinking is that and I think that's why I don't know. I sit because I cannot stand. I use a wheelchair. I sit to be corrected. Maybe that's why we are having a lot of these young people, who are committing suicide, because they are presented with some form of things that is a bit tough to them, and then they can't be able to cope with it because they lack that toughness. But for me and you, if such a thing, and maybe some of the people in this call, if we are presented with it, it's something we have been able to overcome more than that because of that toughness. So my thinking is that I think we need to rethink how maybe also the generation that we are bringing up, and especially when it comes to matters mental toughness. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah. You know, today, and this one I had said a few years ago, that the reason we are having a lot of emotional distress, or what we call mental issue, is because we've grown a generation which is weak mentally. We cannot face trouble in the face and still stay calm and still think soberly. We panic a lot, and that's why people get into emotional outburst, because we are not mentally suited, we are not mentally fit to just understand a crisis for what it is and know that we will emerge victorious. And just staying in that trouble, staying in hell, but imagining heaven is very important. I was in those situations, like when I was in fishing. Yes, yesterday the priest was talking about fishermen. That was saying he doesn't know that I'm a fisherman. That you are there in the middle of nowhere, and people are surrounding you. Don't even imagine school, but you are imagining that you are in school, and you keep thinking about, I will go back to school and finish my secondary schooling and go to the university. I'd not seen anybody gone to the university, unfortunately, but I imagined that it will be possible for me. So whichever situation you are, if you are not going to be able to imagine the best in that bad situation, you are done. You are mentally unfit, and you want to gauge, you want to train your mind, and it is a practice that you must do repeatedly in order to reach that level where you are going to start manifesting that which is right. Thank you. That which you want. Yes, Liz, and then Christine. Christine wanted to say something. Liz, some short comment.
Thank you, OPP, for the good discussion. And I just had a question. You talked about somebody being grounded. And sometimes you wonder, how do you teach yourself into that you're able to be grounded even if things are not working, even if all seems to go against you. How do you still try and maintain calm? That's also a question that I was asking. But apart from that, this is a good discussion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Liz, for that. And you see, Jesus sees these people, meets them in the sea, and there is turbulence, and then he says, peace, be still. You can always stay still and calm yourself if you imagine the best. By the way, one of the ways you can do is affirmation. Just tell yourself, I love the word unbogable from the time it was invented. Yeah, I am unbogable. I am undefeated. Yes, I thrive in everything. Just telling yourself, using that word I, and imagining yourself in the right place. Part of, like me, part of what I can do is singing. You see, hey, I look for some good song and sing. Part of what you can do is reading a scripture that inspires you. For example, I love Psalm 23 that says, even if I'm passing through dark places, dark valley of death, even there, nothing is going to touch me. You see, because you are with me, you are walking with me. We must learn to tag into that universal power, the all creation, and that is God. And the other thing, the other scripture, like during COVID, I picked that psalm, and I picked Psalm 121 and Psalm 91. I love those Psalms, and I would recite them, and I even pray them when I'm going for a long journey, because there is a way they pray in confidence in me. Reading a lot, read inspiring books, read the scripture, and say the right things. It doesn't matter where you are, it is what you confess, and you must refuse to see the trouble as it is. See where you are going, don't see where you are, because where you are is as a result of what you were thinking yesterday or before. By the way, even in getting business, I've always gotten business even when times were down, and I continue to do that. It's not because I'm any wiser. It's just because I'm learning to train my mind to focus on that which I want. And I know we are out of time. Yes, Kiriba, and Christine wanted to say something, then Catherine.
Sorry, Paul. I've just liked the discussion for today, and I feel energized. I do HR consulting. So one also the thing around the what is it called? I contribute is you realize what there is sometimes you wake up in the morning and you find everything is not going the way you want to be. So you realize people are harsh, the environment is harsh, and all that. And one of our my earlier managers was telling me, people tend to give you what they have. So if you find somebody who is sad, you try to transfer that sadness to you. For example, you can even look at when you are in the traffic. There is somebody who is trying to harass you and push you and trying to give you all insults. Basically, it is not about you. It is about them. So just as the Bible says, you give what you have. And I love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if you don't love yourself, you cannot transmit the same thing to others. And how you perceive it is, even if you find anywhere people making noise, sometimes your boss is so harsh, sometimes your spouse is so harsh, sometimes it's not about you. It is what is in them. So be yourself, just as Paul is telling us, just be positive. Don't even put that in your mind. Remember, it is not you. It is what is them and what they are trying to give to you. So don't take it. Just be yourself and
Thank you.
Be yourself and do what you feel makes you happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just the same way Anthony was saying, even in exams, I've learned, and I teach children when they are going to do exams, get to know which grade you are going to look for, and it doesn't matter what is happening around you, you will get it, and get to know which school you are looking for. I've practiced this and I know with my children. Get to know which school you are looking for. Right now, people are fumbling about schools, but a school thing starts early. Grade, which grade you're looking for, and things like that. There is a way everything will work in your favor, by the way. Yes, Catherine, last comment.
I'll keep it short. Thanks, Paul, Peter, and everybody for this an engaging discussion. I just wanted to say that in life, you call things into being. You might be at your lowest point. You might be at a point where you are thinking there is no future. You don't have a job. You have school fees to pay. You have rent to pay. You can either choose to sink or to just go up. So I just needed to add that in terms of we call things into being. And I've seen it happen. Because normally when you start to visualize, when you start to put words into your mind, it now becomes the reality of your world. So I was just adding into it and thanking the team for the contribution and also for the insights that we share here every day. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Catherine. Asante sana. There's something I have been listening to, and for some reason, I feel like the Holy Spirit has been leading me just to research on it, and it's called liberty of the spirit. Liberty of the spirit just means that we are at liberty. This scripture that says that whatsoever things you ask in his name, you get me? It's whatsoever, not a specific thing whatsoever. So in the spirit realm, we are at liberty to ask whatever we want to ask and then to create it. Guys, just go and research about it. It's mind-blowing. Thank you so much. Yes, Dr. Eda, we can do all things through Christ. Thank you so much, Otieno Paul Peter, for that awesome facilitation. Even though at the beginning there was so much hitches, but now we see why there were hitches. It was mind-blowing. Asante sana. Guys, this is Power Monday. We meet every Monday from 7:15 a.m. to 8:15 a.m. I apologize for the 6 minutes, let me just say 8 minutes that I have eaten from your time. Poleni sana. It won't happen again, I promise. We meet every Monday. You will use the same link to join this Zoom meeting. And then we have a WhatsApp group. If you're not in that WhatsApp group, you can send me or Otieno Paul Peter your number, and then we can add you to the WhatsApp group. That's my number there, Otieno Paul Peter, kindly